Jamie. I just would like you to introduce yourself and tell us about yourself, who you are, and where you are from to the audience. Thank you.
Hi, Judah. Thank you so much for having me on today. It's such an honor to be here with you and to connect with you. Let's see, my name is Jamie Love, and I'm from Florida, and then I moved to California 13 years ago. So I've been here. I have two children, 13 and 16, on my second marriage. And let's see, I teach yoga, and I'm kind of getting into the whole influencer, thing because, people have commented to me over the years about my beauty care routine and how natural it is and, eating raw. And I've had like really amazing transformations over the past 20 years. I've had different transformations and, people constantly asking me about it. So I started putting myself out there. I started making videos and creating some content and stuff. So yeah, I just feel like, I'm ready to share my knowledge with the world and to help other people, find, natural ways to um, slow down and reverse aging and, enhance their natural beauty and, just really embrace their unique features that were given to them.
Great, great. And
In
do
a
you
nutshell.
yes, and do you also do coaching? Do you coach people? Can people get hold of you to coach them if they would like to have you as a coach to take them through this process?
Yeah, absolutely. I do one-on-one coaching. I'm also working on a few courses and ebooks and building a website right now. I have a free Telegram group. We have, coaching in there also. I share resources. So it's really, really great. Different topics and channels in there, some about anti-aging, some about spirituality, and plant-based raw diet. So right now I have a group in there of 25 people. We're doing raw for Lent. So we're all doing this challenge together. Even if people are already raw, they can take their diet to the next level and, challenge themselves in some way for the next 40 days. So that's really cool to see so many people at different levels, doing their thing. And it's like a non-judgment thing. I'm really about non-judgment and, really allowing people where they are on their journey and honoring that and knowing that everybody's going to have a different way of doing things. So that's kind of where, coaching is helpful because, you really want to be able to connect with somebody who, understands where you're going through and the process that you're going through and has, experience and can recommend things to help you move further along on your journey.
Okay, great. That sounds awesome. And you also I see you started something new about LA Meetup, or
Oh
you
yeah,
can maybe talk
yeah.
about that as well. That's exciting.
Okay, I'll talk about that a little bit. So to help me on my own journey, because I've been raw, my process or my journey with raw foods has been on and off for the past 13 years. It has not always come easy for me. I've struggled with food addiction and, cooked food addiction and things like that. So, but eating raw I love it so much. And I was wanting community and wanting accountability and wanting support for myself. So I started this raw food meetup last, I want to say May or June of 2023 in Los Angeles. And we started with 9 people, and it was just, 9 of us sitting at the park on our blankets, eating some fruit. And then, over the past, however many months up until now, it's grown so much. We now have 300 people on the meetup group, the meetup.com group. We have, I think we had maybe almost 35 to 40 people show up at the last meetup. We had a guest speaker. We had 2 raw vegan restaurants show up as vendors selling, like raw goodies and things like that, which is really nice. And we had some other little vendors. We had a woman come doing craniosacral therapy, and we had a generator with an infrared sauna. So it felt like a little mini festival over on Santa Monica Beach, the ocean and, the sunset. It was just so beautiful, such high vibes. And there's this guy, Brian Johnson. He lives in LA and he's really big into anti-aging. He's trying to live forever. You know, he has this thing, don't die. Let's stop slowly killing ourselves every day with these bad habits, right? So he's planned these meetups in LA and then he took it globally. And he's like, you know, I have this vision of 500 meetups all around the world. And, you know, he's been promoting this and I've been going to his meetups. And the idea came to me like, oh my gosh, like no one's ever done this before in the raw food movement, you know, like we could do this. We could revive the raw food movement because back when I first went raw, there were so many raw food restaurants all in LA, and now we have one and it's barely hanging on, you know, by a thread. And I feel like I keep hearing a lot of raw vegan restaurants have been closing all around the world. There's not as many, you know, festivals and things like that. It's really getting more into, you know, I think recently the mainstream has gotten really into these processed vegan products and things like that. So, you know, I really would love to bring the raw food movement back, you know, really get it thriving like it used to be, you know. Even Annette Larkins years ago was on the news. They have not showed anybody on the news eating a raw vegan diet in many, many years. She might have been the only one, I don't know. So I had this idea to do these global raw food meetups. And honestly, I didn't know where it was going to go. I was thinking maybe we'll have 5 or 6 people do it. And you know, we could grow from there. And then when I put it out there and I created an Instagram page, people just started following. I only created a month ago. We have almost 500 followers now on the page. We have over 40 cities signed up already right now, as of now, more signing up every day, 40 cities that are going to be hosting raw food meetups all on the same day, all around the world. Can you believe that? Like this has
It's such
never
nice
ever been
energy.
done.
That's
Yeah, it's so
amazing.
beautiful. Yeah, because and then you know there's this guy, he is the creator of the the UK Fruit Fest and he's going to be hosting where he lives, I think in Scotland. So we have like literally like all different countries, like 4 cities in India. But he made a post because he's going to be doing the raw food, the worldwide meetup in Scotland. He's going to be the host, and he made a post saying, you know, we go to these fruit festivals. And you know we make these connections, and maybe we don't see people for another year, and you know maybe every other year, whatever it is, or if they never come back, I'll never see them again. That people live all over the world, right? And how important it is, and that it's going to be really powerful for people to start growing community locally, you know, like building these small communities to have the support system. And it's interesting because so many people have been wanting to do this and they've been just sitting on the idea of wanting to start a meetup, but because I started this movement, they're like, okay, this is the time, I'm going to do it, you know? And it's really like pushing people to step out of their comfort zones and step up as a leader in their community, you know, create connection and, you know, have the support system that they're looking for, have the, you know, make the friends, be surrounded by like-minded people. And, you know, the meetups are really positive energy, positive vibes. Everybody that comes is just, you know, so welcoming and accepting. And, you know, I have this thing where I want to unite raw foodists who may not be, you know, 100% vegan. Maybe they eat honey or things like that, but they're into raw, right? Raw foodists and raw vegans who are, you know, in it like also for like the animal rights activists and things like that. And then also fruitarians who are, you know, kind of like their own, you know, they're like their own niche, you know? So like I want to unite everybody in the raw food community. I want us all to come together because we are stronger together. We're stronger in numbers. And, you know, there has been throughout the years, I don't know if you've ever known like people on Instagram or YouTube, like there have been some raw vegans who bash other raw vegans for this, or they're not drinking the right water, or they eat salt or whatever it is, right? And I want to remove that. I want to get the judgment and the shame out because we're such a small portion, a small percentage of the world's population that we should not be turning against each other and judging each other. So I want everybody at these meetups to honor each other where we are and keep the debating out, keep the judging out, and just be there to support each other, because we're all going to be on a different journey. It's going to look different for everyone. So that's basically how that started. I'm really, really excited about it. So people have the option to either host a meetup or they can attend a meetup. So
That sounds amazing because I mean, even in South Africa, yeah, I don't know anybody who's a raw vegan, and I don't even have many people that I know who's vegan, you know, because people just they still need to catch up on, you know, the whole idea of being a vegan and why you do it for your health and for the animals. I have coached a couple of ladies that went vegan, you know, so even the raw part is not even there yet. So I think that you're almost in LA in America or some other parts of the world. It's almost like you guys are way ahead of some parts of the other
well,
side of the world, you know?
yeah, okay, you would be surprised. You know, all of the people that come to my meetup, I never knew them before I started the meetup. So I was in the same position that you were in, where I said, I don't know any raw vegans. I don't know anybody. And the thing is that if you build it, they will come. And if people are curious and they're looking for this, it will be a safe haven for them to learn and grow and to come explore. And maybe people are not vegan, or maybe they're not raw, but they want to come because they're interested in it. Or, you know, maybe they've never heard about it, but somebody hosting will give them the opportunity to you know, to meet, to learn about it, and to come to these meetups and be around like-minded people who are also into, you know, health and for themselves and for the planet and for animals. So yeah, if you start something, a meetup is considered two or more people, and that's what I tell people. There's no pressure to have a big extravagant event, or, you know, it could be two people talking about raw foods at the park, eating some watermelon. It could be so simple. That's a meetup. You and a friend getting together, grabbing a juice, right? It doesn't have to be crazy. Even if you found one person, and then eventually that can lead to two people. And then, you know, everything has a starting point. Everything is going to can only grow from there.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I think that the universe is really behind you. You know, I feel that energy, you know, that you know, it's really like happening because it's meant to be in a way, you know, that because it's such high vibe and such high frequency, you know, the raw food is just amazing, you know, it just draws people, you know,
I
it's
do feel
amazing.
like there is a higher power, like a
Mm.
force, like pushing me, supporting me, because things have just really come so effortless. Usually in the past, I would come up with an idea and I'm like, oh, wow, this would be really cool to do something like this. But I wouldn't have the courage, or I wouldn't have the confidence to do something like that. And when I got this idea, I have a group chat of people from the meetup on Instagram. We all have a little group chat. There's maybe 20 or 30 of us in there. And I was like, hey, you guys, wouldn't this be a really cool idea? Like if we did this, and I'm thinking like, let's build a team of people, you know, let's all work on this together. And you know, it's just, it wasn't flowing, and people were like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe that could work. People just weren't able to see the vision that I was thinking about. And I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do it. I don't know. And then something came over me, and like the ideas just started coming in, and I was like, okay, I need to do this, I need to do this. And yeah, it was almost like this channeling information to come through to create this movement. Like it is really meant to happen, because it is such a beautiful lifestyle. It's so kind and it's so compassionate, and you're not leaving any, like, really much carbon footprint in the world. You know, it's just raw fruits and vegetables in its purest form and its purest sense. And it's so alive, you know, and the vibration that we are all feeling when we all get together, because we're eating foods that are living and has the life force energy. And, you know, we're on this high vibration, and, you know, when two or more are gathered, I am there, right? So it's like something really magical when there's people gathered all on this high energy. You're creating like this beautiful bubble that expands out into your city, into the world, you know. And if we have meetups like this all around I'm getting goosebumps right now. We have meetups all around the world,
Yes.
all in the same day. Like, how beautiful is that going to be? You
It's the
know?
same, it's the same thing as when certain people meditated in a group, how the crime rate went down in certain cities because they meditated in that specific area, or like, it's that energy of a group, like you said, you're talking about the raw energy, the raw food energy. So it's definitely
Yeah.
true what you're saying.
And someone brought that up to me because we do have this opportunity where we're reaching people all over the world. My friend actually said you should do a mass meditation all at the same time. It's hard because we're all in different time zones, so we're all not going to be hosting our meetups at the
Mm.
same time. But I was thinking about maybe doing through the Instagram, doing a mass meditation, time that works for everybody's time zone, and it may not be at the meetups but just like on a certain day, like, hey, let's all put this positive intention out into the world. So that might be something, an opportunity that we have reaching so many people around the world right now.
Yes, yes, there is other people that are doing this as well, where they meet on Instagram Live or YouTube Live, and then we do a live meditation for the world. All shift happily now. It's called All Shift Happily Now, and it's we meditate so that we shift into a really good universe. The future will be a happy one and a vibrant one. And it's not this, we change our reality to a better one even. So if we all meditate together, it's the same what you're trying to do. And a lot of people come on the live, just to meditate and everything and to be part of that meditation. So I think it will definitely work.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great idea.
That's awesome. I'm so glad that you're telling us about this. And I just wanted to ask you, how old are you at the moment, if I may ask?
My age,
Yes.
I will be 39 in a few weeks, like maybe a month or so.
Okay. Okay, great. And then you said your story started with being raw 13 years ago. That's a long time already. That's amazing. Do you want to
Yes,
share more about your early journey? How did you get into raw food? And I've seen the before pictures. You look totally different now. It's just high vibe and you look beautiful and amazing.
oh, thank you. My plant-based journey actually started 20 years ago.
Oh,
So I'll give you a little background. I didn't grow up eating meat. I had a very strong aversion eating meat when I was younger. So I always called myself a vegetarian. And I was the only person in my family that called myself a vegetarian, but I had never heard of veganism. I didn't know what plant-based was. My family, we ate spinach out of a box, frozen spinach out of a box. That was the most vegetable I got because we were Italian American, and we ate mostly pasta and bread. And my family, they ate meat, but what was left for me was pasta and bread. And we had that almost every day. My mom made pasta because that's the tradition. So I grew up eating mostly pasta, gluten my whole life. And I started like um, having like inflammation and getting like a belly in my teens. And a friend of mine, and I think I started getting like rosacea in my face. I didn't exercise or anything like that. And then a friend of mine went on the Atkins diet at the time because Atkins was popular back then when I was in high school, or maybe early. Yeah, I think it was like high school. So she went on the Atkins diet, and I was really interested in what she was doing. And I did eat seafood, so the only protein that I could, get because I didn't eat meat was I would do like seafood, and I did cheese because cheese was, um, I guess you could call it protein. So I had a horrible, like just horrible eating habits. I ate tons of junk food and everything growing up, lots of processed packaged foods. I would eat late at night, and I did this Atkins thing with her, and I was also like intermittent fasting, and I did end up losing like 10 or 15 pounds, and I felt really good about myself, right? So my aunt got cancer, I think when I was probably around 20, maybe 20 or so, or around there. And my mom, when she was just not having it. She started buying all these books. She started researching about health, and she started eating vegan, and she started reading to me about health and veganism and plant-based and everything. And I was like, okay, I'll try this. I was pretty convinced. So my mom and I started doing this together. And she started juice. She bought a juicer. We started juicing. We learned about fasting. We started fasting, um, colon cleansing. We started doing enemas. My mom and I, she'd be in her bathroom, I'd be in my bathroom. We're both doing enemas. And she'd wake up and she would juice for us, and it was a lot of fun. But it's still the same thing. We added the juice in, but we were still eating vegan, but it was still like the junk food vegan. We were still buying lots of processed foods. We were still eating pastas and making Alfredo sauce from tofu, things like that, right? So it really wasn't like a whole food plant-based diet. And I did that for a while, and I did start to transform, and I started to look really good, and my skin started to clear up and everything. But I got pregnant, and I gained a lot of weight because I wasn't eating like a healthy vegan diet during my pregnancy. And I think after I had my son, I ended up going back to eating um, animal products, not meat, but just animal product like dairy and eggs and things like that, and still eating the breads and the junk foods and everything. So, I went off and on this plant-based journey. And it wasn't until after I had my daughter that I put 50 pounds on with my son's pregnancy, and I put 60 pounds on with my daughter. And my face was just like this big, bright red tomato, and it was just so bloated everywhere, and, probably full of parasites. Like, who the heck knows? Like, I was just, ugh, just looking at myself in the mirror, I felt disgusted. I had hormonal issues and anger issues and mood swings and tired, no motivation, couldn't focus, had the worst brain fog. I saw Dr. Fuhrman on the news. Not sure if you know who he is, Dr. Joel Fuhrman. He wrote this book called Eat to Live, and he was giving this presentation on his nutritarian diet. He was talking about eating foods that have lower calories but higher nutritional uh, density. So greens, lots and lots of greens, and then fruit would be the next in the pyramid. Then you have your nuts and seeds, and then little things like this. But he said greens were the base. Like, this needs to be the primary source of your fuel in your day, is these greens, because they have so many minerals and everything. Then fruit would come after that, right? So I tried his diet. He said you would lose a pound a day and 20 pounds in a month or whatever. You can lose 20 pounds in a month or 6 weeks or whatever it was. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I bought the book. I was breastfeeding my daughter at the time. I was so just desperate. I was like, I can't look like this. I don't like the way I feel. I don't like the way I look. I need to get this weight off of me. I've never been this heavy in my life. And I read the book while I was breastfeeding. Like, I would just sit there while I was breastfeeding, and I read this whole book in probably 4 days. Like, I skimmed right through it, and I was so determined. I was like, I'm gonna follow this by the book, and I did. And I did. I lost 8 pounds in the first week just from cutting out the salt. So that was huge for me. Like, I never even knew that you could have a diet without salt. And it was a new thing for me because he wanted me to eat all these greens, and it was more nutrient dense than the vegan diet I had ever eaten before. I'd never tried bok choy and all these greens, right? Collard greens and everything like that. So I was eating this. It was mostly raw, just some steamed veggies at night. So I did this. I was glowing. People were like, "Oh my gosh, like, I lost weight. My skin was glowing. My eyes were glowing. My hair was luscious and healthy." And I was like, okay, this is really good. I'm feeling really good. I started, getting that um, confidence back, and started exercising again. And then I saw Annette Larkins. I saw a video of her. She was raw. I'd never heard of this before. Okay, this was about 13 years ago. I found Annette Larkins. So
Mm.
she was my main inspiration. And the thing that really struck me or stood out to me was that she was in her 60s, but she looked like she was 30. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my gosh, like she has found the fountain of youth. Like, this is what I want to do. Like, I don't know, maybe, my mother was always kind of vain, always wouldn't leave the house without makeup on. She had plastic surgery and, you know, and I grew up kind of, wearing makeup and always dolling myself up and wanting to look beautiful. It just kind of inherited that from my mom. But I never wanted to do what she did with, Botox and, facelifts and, wearing tons of makeup. I actually wanted my inspiration was wanting to have beautiful skin glowing from the inside out without needing to cover up my skin without makeup. So when I saw this, I was like, that's it. This is what I want to do. I want to be glowing and just radiating with youth and vitality and beauty and just love. And, like I saw this vision of what I wanted to be. And from that moment on, that started my raw food journey. And it really has been such an interesting process because it was in my mind a destination, but it became a journey. It became a process of my life. It became my spiritual path. It became my process of self-discovery. So I bought Annette Larkins' little pamphlets and I learned about sprouting and the kind of water I should be drinking and things like that. So I bought her little pamphlets. I wasn't really much into, 13 years ago, I wasn't really watching tons of YouTube videos at the time, but eventually I did get into YouTube. And then I got a food recipe from a health food store. And I also just Googling on websites and things like that. But it wasn't really huge on YouTube. I think Fully Raw Christina I did watch, and maybe Dan the Life Regenerator. I got some
Mm.
juicing recipes and things like that. But I got this book by Victoria Buchenko called 12 Steps to Raw. And it's about, ending your addiction to cooked food. I listened to her story, I read about it and I was so inspired. That same day, I went raw, like overnight, threw out the microwave, covered over the stove, unplugged the stove, threw everything out of the cabinet.
Oh my
And
word.
I was like, at first, I was like, what the heck am I supposed to do now? What am I going to eat? And she said this happened with her kids. They'd open the fridge, they'd see an orange in there or bananas in there. Like she didn't know what to eat, so she just bought apples and oranges because she didn't know what a raw food diet was. And I feel like that's how it was for me. Like, I bought just some like fruits and veggies, and I really didn't know. I was eating like raw potatoes. Like I really didn't know like what a raw food diet was. I was just eating like a rabbit, just eating like celery sticks and, but I did have my juicer. So, I was like, okay, I know about juicing, so I can juice. And, I would, but it was just this like emotional addiction of like, I would open the cabinet, like looking for those snacks and looking for the stuff. And I was
Mm.
like, this is so hard, and I'd open the fridge and, and I was like, I got to get creative. So I bought a dehydrator. I got the Vitamix. I got, my husband bought me all the tools that I needed. He was overseas at the time, but he was very supportive, while he was away, and he, would buy all these things for me to help me. So I just started experimenting. I started, making things in the dehydrator, but I got so much to where it was like, I couldn't eat anything that wasn't gourmet because I started getting addicted to the gourmet raw foods, right? I would make
Mm.
stuffed mushrooms and pizza crust, and it was just taking up my whole day, So when my husband finally came back from his deployment, I ended up, after probably a year, falling off of the raw food lifestyle, because, he was eating cooked foods and it was a lot of work, coming to cook for everybody and everything and make these things. So I did that for probably a year, and then every single day I would wake up and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna eat raw today. I'm gonna eat raw today. And some days I would, and then some days I would eat raw till dinner, or some days I would go a whole week eating raw, or I would go 30 days eating raw, or I would go, things like that. But every single day, no matter what, I never told myself this isn't working. I can't do this. I said, how do I make this work? And I just kept trying through trial and error. And, I kept yo-yoing back and forth, but through that process really helped my detox regimen as well. So because I was like, I wasn't eating super clean all the time, I would have to, learn how to detox to, clean my body out. So that also helped throughout my journey. And then it was 8 years later, I moved to LA, got a job at a raw food restaurant. I went raw again. I did that for a year and a half before I started working at a raw food or a vegan kitchen, an alkaline vegan kitchen. And they gave us like free food. And I was like, they had these like vegan quesadillas and they were cooked, but they were vegan. I was like, oh God, so I ended up going back to eating vegan cooked foods. And then it wasn't until, but I like the same thing. Like I've done it, I did it for a year and then I stopped, and then I do it for 6 months and then stop, do it for a year and a half, so it has not been 100% consistent, but I've been 100% raw many, many times over the past 13 years. And I look at myself as a raw foodist, as a raw vegan. That is the identity that I've given myself, no matter what, because people are going to have setbacks. They are going to have, you might go 2 years and then have something cooked. Like you're not going to say, well, I'm not a raw foodist because I ate something cooked. And the problem that I had was that I would always say, oh, I had something cooked. I have to start from day one again. So, if you just wipe that clean and just realize this is a lifestyle, it's a lifelong journey, same thing with everything. Like you're going to fail. There's going to be times where you mess up and you fail. You just get right back on it. You just keep trying and you're going to learn and you're going to, explore how to do things your way. The way I eat right now is very different from the way that I ate 13 years ago. I'm very simple. I don't even use a dehydrator. It's very easy, simple, and
Share with us
you
what you
know,
eat the whole day, like a typical day. Just give us a rundown, what you eat the whole day, if you can.
okay, the whole day. Well, it's always different because it's whatever I'm in the mood for.
Okay.
So,
Well, what did you eat today
yeah.
or yesterday?
Well, I usually intermittent fast, but yesterday I woke up, I had some apples and almond butter. Then I had a smoothie, and then I had the smoothie for lunch, and then for dinner I had this big salad with portobello mushrooms, microgreens, big bunch of microgreens with um, lots of cucumbers, avocado, a whole small avocado, and then I drizzled some olive oil on it, and then I put some nutritional yeast on it with some seasoning, and yeah, so it's so different. Yeah, and then like some days I'll just I haven't done this in a while. I haven't been juicing, but you know sometimes I'll just do nothing but juice all day, and then I'll have something raw for dinner. Sometimes it'll be more gourmet and higher fat. Sometimes it'll be just fruit, like a mono meal. It's really whatever my body's feeling. Like some days I wake up and I'm just like, I want nothing but a huge bowl of oranges. And then other days I wake up and I'm like, I need an avocado. Like I just feel like I want some flaxseed or chia seeds and lots of fats today,
So
So
you're more intuitive. So you listen to your body, and
so
you don't have like a
intuitive.
set. Yeah.
No, no.
Yeah.
And
No, that's awesome.
some days I eat very, very little, and then other days I eat so much, So I don't count calories. I really just go by how I am looking, how I'm feeling, how much energy I have. And like you said, the intuition, like your body knows what it needs if you just get quiet enough to listen to it.
No, that's exactly it's totally right. I do the same. I do the same. And it's difficult, like you said, to do the dehydrating recipes all the time because that takes up so much time. And
Mhm.
if especially if you have to cook for your family as well. I don't know if your family right now, your husband right now, your second husband, and your children, are they raw or do they eat cooked food or
My kids live with their father, an hour
okay,
and a
yes.
half outside of LA. So I go visit them. I honestly, where I'm at in my life right now, like, I would love for them to live with me, but I don't think they would want to eat like me. They told me like, we don't want to live, we don't want to eat like that, so they like, the way their dad feeds them. So I'm not going to argue with that, right? And I've gotten to this point where no, I don't cook for anyone. My husband makes his own food. and I make my own food. We eat when we feel like it. Sometimes we'll have a meal together, but it's really, I hate that like dogmatic, like, okay, we sit down for dinner at this time. Like, what if I'm not hungry? What if I don't want to eat? What if I want to fast? So we do our own thing. And then if it just aligns for us to come together and have a meal together on some days, most of the time we will have dinner together, but some days we don't. And it's not a big deal at all.
Yes, and it's all about the connection. That's the first thing that I also realized when I went through the first, the beginning, that you kind of lose, everybody's connecting with food and drinking alcohol and all of that. So if you don't eat cooked food and all the barbecuing and drinking, then you have to learn how to connect on a different level to other people. That's what you're talking about. So you and your husband, it's not just about sharing the meals or with your children. You connect on a different level. And I think that's much more healthier, spiritually as
Absolutely.
well.
Yeah, my daughter, I will take her to, she loves the Olive Garden. She doesn't order meat, but she likes these little big ziti things and she gets the salad and she likes the breadsticks. So I'll take her there and I pack my own food and I ask them, can you just bring me a plate? And I put my food on the plate and I eat
Mhm.
what I'm eating. And I actually really like that she sees me doing that, because it's showing her that, um, we don't have to go by what everybody else is doing. We can do our own thing. So I do like to connect with her. That's what she likes to do. So it's about meeting people where they're at as well. But as far as everyone else, really try not to revolve things around food other than at the meetups. The meetups, people bring fruit and stuff, but that's okay. Besides that, my husband and I, we go hiking, we do yoga together. What else? We'd like to take classes. We'll go to breathwork classes together. We go for walks. And, like we take baths together, like
Yes.
most couples don't get in the tub together, we get in the tub together and put on meditation music. It's so nice. So it's really, really nice to find those ways to connect outside of just like, let's go get a meal together. I think it
Yes,
actually helps your relationship and it helps bring you even closer.
exactly. I was just going to say the same thing. It actually helps you to have a deeper relationship and a really meaningful one.
Yeah.
No, that's true. I wanted to ask you about, have you done any long juice fast or anything like that? Because I don't know. I mean, there are some people that do a long juice fast. I haven't done a long juice fast. Anything? Has it been beneficial to you if you've done it, or you can just
It
share
was
if you like?
I did, and it was the best experience. I'm not going to say of my life because I have children and everything, but of my raw journey, of my health journey, the juice cleanse that I did, I was mostly just juice for a few months. I want to say it was almost 4 months, and I did have some solid foods, but mostly just juice. And I transformed on so many levels. My consciousness just like expanded, like clarity came in, just feeling so light energetically in my body and having so much energy to run or work out or to do anything. It just felt so good to clean out and not to have food constantly being digested all the time. And while I was doing that, I was still doing my detox practices. I'm really big into detox and fasting. So I was still doing enemas, I was still doing fasting. Um, and yeah, I highly recommend it. I didn't do what some people do where they take the psyllium with the bentonite to get the mucoid
Mm.
plaque out, but because I've been doing colon cleansing for 20 years, I don't really think I had that problem. When I first went raw, I did this oxygen therapy. It's called H2O2 therapy. It's actually food grade hydrogen peroxide. There's a very strict regimen on how to do it. But I've done that once a year. And the first time I did that, because it floods your body with oxygen, and parasites can't live in an oxygen rich environment, I expelled so many parasites at that time. Um, so yeah, so I don't really think that I needed to do that during the juice cleanse. But yeah, the juice cleanse, I highly recommend it to do it at least once. I think I'm going to do another one soon, like once I have the better space to do a juice cleanse. I don't really have the right environment in my apartment right now to do that, but yeah, I'm definitely going to do that again at some point.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great. That's great.
Juice
So you,
feasting,
sorry?
yeah, juice feasting, I think, like being able to go a few
Yes,
months on just juice is life tran uh, transformational. Yeah.
yes. And also, I mean, it's a lot of preparation as well. So you have to be ready, to be able to juice so much juice in the morning before you start working or get busy. It's just a bit of a different routine.
It's costly too
Yeah.
because you have to set a budget aside. So what I
Mm.
did it during the summertime when fruit was more in season. And I wouldn't recommend just doing fruit juice because, I think green juices are the real way to detox your body and you're not just putting all that sugar, straight into your body. But I did mostly watermelon juice, to be honest with you. I would throw in a green juice here and there, or, I would do some cantaloupe juice, but watermelon, I would get this huge watermelon for $5 and it would be my juice for the whole day. So if you really want to do a juice cleanse, I'm not recommending it, but if you really want to do one on a budget, those big watermelons for $5 yield a lot of juice and you don't have to actually run it through a juicer. That's the beautiful thing about it. You could just put the watermelon in the blender and
Mm.
pour it into your
And just
jars.
sift it through and yeah,
Yeah, but
that's great.
when you do run it through the blender,
Okay.
it's so small that nothing even it just basically
Oh,
turns to
oh,
juice.
so you
Yeah.
would drink it just like a smoothie. Okay, I
Yeah,
understand. Okay,
yeah, that
that's
was
perfect.
yeah.
That's awesome. And then I wanted to ask you about if you can share about water fasting and dry fasting, what your thoughts about it. Have you ever done it? Just for a bit of extra information always.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm really into anti-aging and
Mm,
just looking youthful, and fasting I feel like has been a big part of that on my journey. So many people fast, do the intermittent fast, but I think it's when it comes to a little bit of a longer water fast, when you really get into autophagy, that's really when you start seeing the benefits. So I do recommend doing at least, at the very minimum, a 24-hour water fast once a week, which I've been doing for the past 20 years. Haven't always been consistent with it, but I still pretty much do that because, I've done water fasting, let's say most of the time I would do 24 hours once a week. Sometimes I would do 24 hours 2 or 3 times a week. I would do a whole water fast, a couple times a week.
yes. Do you
And
set, sorry to interrupt you, do you set a day aside, like your Mondays, or, that you would
I've
do
tried
just
that and
random?
it never works like that.
Okay.
I've tried, but it's like I'm never prepared for it. So again, with the intuition, like I'll just wake up and I feel really strong and I'm not hungry. And I'm like, okay, today's the day that I need to fast. Because if you try to force it, it's almost like you're starving yourself, right? And you
Mm,
really don't want that negative energy of, like if you're having a really hard time with it, you're creating acid built up in the body. And, we want as little stress on the body as possible. So eliminating too much stress. So if you're fasting and it's becoming really stressful for you, just stop right then. Just don't do it. Another thing too for women, which I didn't realize, and just learning about this now, is that women should only fast during certain times of the month because of their hormones.
oh,
So I've made a lot of mistakes in the past where I've maybe fasted before my menstrual cycle. Maybe I shouldn't have done that, and kind of like mess up your hormones like that. So definitely look into that if you're a woman. But yeah, so the dry fasting, well, I'll finish the water fasting. So I did get to this point where I'm very, like, really into the whole breatharian lifestyle. And I feel like that is something that I've constantly been working towards for the past 6 years. I learned about it, not there yet mentally or physically or emotionally, but I feel like the same way I feel like I'm a raw foodist, even when I'm not eating raw. I feel like a breatharian, even though I'm not there yet. It's like my higher self is kind of pulling me towards that lifestyle at some point. I mean, maybe I'll be 90 when it happens, but um,
I
yeah.
always
So
admire people who gets to that spiritual stage where they can actually do that, because that's a very big commitment in a way, you know, to give up food and get the actual nutrition from the sun and the energy
right,
surrounding you, right?
right, and that's why you have to be humble enough to say like I'm not there yet, because you really don't want to hurt your body, you don't want to hurt yourself. Everything has to be done properly. So I've slowly just started incorporating more fasting into my lifestyle. I got to a point where for 2 weeks I ate one meal every 2 days. So it was
Wow.
one meal every 2 days, and I did that for 2 weeks. And I think there was even a few times where I had one meal every third day. So I was just really just playing around with what I'm really
What you're
capable of
capable
achieving
of,
with my
yeah.
body. Yeah, what I'm capable of. And I was still doing yoga, and I was like, I haven't had a meal in 3 days, and then, I'd have one meal and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go back to fasting, and, I'm not going to eat again for 2 more days. And I I don't even know what came over me. It really brought me back to homeostasis, like really balanced out my energy and my mind, like all the clutter in your mind when you're fasting just melts away, and you're just left with this beautiful sense of calm and peace that comes over you. And on top of that, the fat melts away, the the autophagy is, you're stimulating autophagy, so it's really good for anti-aging, really good, cleaning your brain and things like that, like detoxing your brain. So juice fasting is great. Water fasting is also great. They're meant for different things. And then the dry fasting I started getting into because I learned that dry fasting has 3 times the amount of autophagy. So I did a 1 day dry fast years ago, and it was so hard. I was like, that was so hard, not having any water for 24 hours. Me and my husband were like, oh my God, I'm so thirsty. But we were also living in the desert at the time. So it was a little bit more dry. But I tried it again a couple weeks ago, and I did a day and a half dry, and it was great. I was like, oh my gosh, I did it. Like I slept overnight. I hadn't had water all day, and then I went the whole night, and then I tried it again, maybe a week and a half ago. I did 2.5 days dry, and I wanted to go to 3 days, but I had my interview with Jillian Berry the next day, and I was feeling kind of weak, and I was like, I have to rebuild my strength, and but I really, I think I could have did the 3 full days of dry fasting, which would have been phenomenal. Like my goal has always been to do a 3 day dry fast because I read or watched a video somewhere that when you do a 3 day dry fast, it just wipes everything out of your body that doesn't belong there. Viruses, mold, bacteria, cancer, everything gone, right? I mean, that's just to me like the fact that we can heal our body. And I think that we need to find a really great balance between fasting and feasting. I don't think that we were meant to eat every single 3 times a day, every single day forever. Like it's so taxing on our body. It's just so much, right? So we are meant to fast. It's not really an option. Like you have to fast for your health. You have to clean out the dead, the waste of these cells that are old and deteriorating, clean them out, recycle them, get some new, fresh cells happening, like cellular regeneration, right? This is for your health. And if you do a water fast or you do a dry fast, you're going to feel so rejuvenated after because it just cleans everything out. You have to do the oil change on your car. You have to fast every once in a while. That's why I said the 24-hour water fast once a week is a great place to start.
Wow, that's amazing. It's you're a big inspiration, I think, to a lot of people, you know, what you can
Oh,
actually achieve and get to,
thank
because
you.
you don't, yeah, it's a pleasure. And yes, thank you so much. And is there anything else that you would like to add or talk about that comes to mind, maybe intuitively?
Is there anything else you want to know? I can't think of anything.
I think you shared most of the the things that we wanted to talk about, but you're welcome to share.
Just share a little bit about more about the natural beauty care and the anti-aging.
Yes.
So people want to know like like how to stay youthful. I'm a really big promoter on youthful lifestyle, youthful living, and slowing down the aging process naturally. So I do that with healthy lifestyle habits, and meditation is really great, and just doing the inner work to help get these heavy emotions that weigh us down, and that those kind of show up on our face. So really trying to focus on godlike qualities, forgiveness, um, well, I guess you could say happiness isn't really, but joy and connecting to your purpose and just feeling youthful, and then rewiring your subconscious thoughts to feel young, to feel vibrant, to feel healthy. We might be eating a diet that is conducive to a healthy lifestyle. But if our thoughts in the back of our subconscious are saying, I'm sick, my family was all sick, I'm going to get sick, I'm going to get cancer one day, or whatever it is, we have to change our beliefs and change our image about ourselves, like how we feel about ourselves, and really show ourselves kindness and compassion. And I'm a really big advocate for natural beauty care, so not using any chemicals on my skin, and doing facial yoga, facial lymphatic massage. Rebounding is really great for flushing the lymphatic system. Yoga, hot yoga, sweating, all these things are really great for living a youthful lifestyle and just living your best life. And if you would like to find me, you can come to my Instagram. It's at agelessbeauty143. That's probably the best place to reach out to me. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. That was amazing. Thanks so much for sharing your thoughts and answering all these questions. It's always nice to hear your point of view as well, what you think about life generally, because I think being a raw vegan, or it's actually a lifestyle. Like you said, it's meditation, it's breath work, it's not just the food, I believe that food by itself won't heal a person 100%. I would say nutrition would be 90%, and then you would be 10% is how you actually spiritually, how do you grow and let go of any negative belief systems. And every day the meditation helps, like you said, or yoga. I mean, yoga is like meditation or breath work already, because I do yoga as well every day, and it just puts me in the right space. Yoga is so magical. I just love it as well.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. The diet is just the baseline, right? It should be the non-negotiable, like what you put in your body, and then everything else can only take you further from there.
Yes, no, that's true.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jamie, for coming on the
Thank you
channel,
so much, Judith.
and have an awesome day. And then we chat again sometime in the future.
I would love that. It was such a pleasure hanging out with you today.
It was
Thank you
really
so
nice.
much.